You know, when we think about search, we typically think about Google and keywords, but in reality, there is a shift happening right now that if you take advantage of it, you can move to the front of the line. I'm talking about utilizing AI search to be recommended as the #1 agent, and I'm going to break it down in this video exactly what you can do to get ahead of the curve. You know, there are certain times in our business where there are certain changes we see, or really shifts that we see in our business, where the agents that are first to react really set themselves apart. AI search is one of those situations right now. Probably the biggest one I've seen in my entire 31-year career is that we're seeing a major shift in what consumers are doing. Now, it used to be that obviously, and there's still to a certain extent, obviously, that people are going to Google and they're searching about homes in a certain area. They're searching about best agent in an area. They're doing these types of searches on Google. But there is a shift that is happening very rapidly right now that is where people are utilizing AI like ChatGPT, Gemini, some of the others to actually do their search. So what I'm going to do today is I want to break down exactly what this looks like and what the 7 things are that you can do to really get ahead of the game. I want to start by sharing this with you. This is kind of a breakdown of what we're seeing in search. Now, this chart that I'm going to share with you is actually from the end of 2024. So this is even accelerated faster than it did then. But I want to show you this chart specifically so that you can get an idea of the shift that we're seeing. If you'll notice, this is actually showing you where was the search done in 2020 versus the end of 2024. And what you're noticing here is that in 2020, 98% of all the search that was done online was done through Google or through search engines. And then you see there was 1% actually with social media. That actually, there was not a lot there. And then there was 0 because chat bots were not around at that point. Now we shift and we look to the end of 2024. And what we're seeing is that 61% of search is still being done. So over half, and still the majority of the search is being done on Google or other search engines. But you'll notice social media actually moved up 17%. And then the AI chat bots are 30%. So this is a substantial change in what we've been seeing. Now, a couple things to notice here. You'll notice that actually at the end of 2024, there was more than 100% of search that was done on the Google, the typical search engines, also through social media as well as through the chatbots. But what you have to understand is that people are searching in multiple places. This is why it's more important than ever to make sure that you're showing up everywhere. Now, you notice social media. We've talked a little bit about this in the past, or I have, but let me share with you. What's happened now is that social media is more driven by the search and what people are searching for than it was just a couple of years ago. It's kind of the TikTok effect we've talked about, where when we see people that are addicted to TikTok, it's because it keeps giving them information or videos that they like to see. So if you're searching for houses, for instance, in Santa Rosa Beach, odds are that the algorithm on Instagram now is going to find, or Facebook is going to find other houses that are in that area and put that in that algorithm. They're going to put it in front of the people. So now more than ever, search is being utilized on social media. Also, what you may not have noticed is that I'm very guilty of it myself. I go to ChatGPT and ask the questions I used to ask to Google, but I do it more in a conversational tone. So it is a little bit different in what I'm looking for. So one of the things is to think about when you're posting types of content, you want them to be more conversational, like it would be someone asking someone on ChatGPT or one of the other search bots. This is a way that we can start setting ourselves apart. Now, here's 7 specific things that you can do, and I'm going to start with number 1, which is optimize your Google business profile. See, what the AI likes is it likes order. It likes succinct ideas of understanding. The way that Google is set up is it asks you, what are the areas that you serve? It asks you the ability to share where your office is, who your company is, your contact information. You see, having everything orderly like that is something that the AI loves because it gives them an easy way to scan and grab information. The other thing it loves is that it has on there, on most, especially with the Google business profile, it has those recommendations or reviews on there. Now, a couple things are going to be key that we're going to get to on that in just a few minutes. But one of the things we want to make sure of is that there's consistency, because the ChatGPTs of the world, the Geminis of the world, what it loves is it loves consistency. It loves seeing that you're active in those areas. So highlighting those things and making sure that all of that you're doing on those is consistent and that it is in line and that it shares information in a way that's easy for them to identify who you are, who you serve, and the areas you serve. That's the first step in really building that optimized AI presence. The second step is to publish high hyper-local content. Now, it loves the idea of you being the neighborhood or the expert in your local community. So what are some of the types of content that you can do there? Number one is you can highlight the lifestyle. You can highlight hiking trails, restaurants. You can highlight businesses. You can highlight specific neighborhoods. Get very local, hyper-local really, on the type of content you're doing, because what that does is it gives it an easy understanding of who you are. And when you're thinking about these posts, it's scanning constantly. So if it sees that you're consistently posting about one specific neighborhood, it's going to understand that that is an area that you really are focused on. Now I want to slip back and talk a little bit about on the Google business profile side of how the hyper-local can help as well. See, when you're asking for people to do reviews, what you want them to say is that Jimmy is a great agent in Watercolor, Florida, in Santa Rosa Beach, Florida. You want them to key in, if you can, if you've got people that you can coach a little bit on this, or if you can provide them with the information of what you'd like. Because you see, when they say that you are the local expert, it is something that the bot comes in, it gets, and it actually spits back out. When we're looking at some of these, when we're doing the research on this, for other people that are trying to identify what it is that they can do to become number one, a lot of times it's quoting reviews that it's spitting back to the person who's asked the question. So if you can get those reviews hyper-local, if you can get your content hyper-local, it's absolutely going to help you on your rankings. The third step is to have consistent information across all the platforms. So everything as far as your company, your business, your team name, your name, whatever it is, your phone number, all of that should be consistent from Instagram to Zillow, from your website to over on LinkedIn. Everything should be consistent and in line. Again, we talked about they love order. They love the understanding. And when you give it the ability to see that everything is in order, there's no discrepancies there, it will absolutely help you there. It also gives you the ability that it will see that you're active on multiple platforms. So back in the day, we used to say, make sure that you're focusing in on one specific area and you become the expert then, and then move on. You absolutely need to do that. But you absolutely need to have at least your profile set up in a way that is consistent across all of the areas that the bot may go check on to make sure that you show consistency. The next step is to get featured in local media, in national media, and also in some of our industry publications like Inman. What this does is that it shows authority. It shows other outlets that they're banking and they're questioning you for that information. Now, a couple things you can do here on the local side. I'll promise you your local TV station, I'll promise you your local websites, they're all looking for content. What is it that you can do that you can create some opportunity for them to provide them with information where you become the go-to source for them, where they quote you on certain things? Now, a couple ideas here is the highest sales price of a house, the lowest sales price of a house, the smallest house that's sold, the information about the market in a unique fashion that maybe they haven't heard before. Getting creative with the type of content. Think of it from a standpoint of what is it that the reader of that local publication would love to know about? What is it that the publisher of that local publication would love to publish for you? Also on the national level, what is it that you can do to become the outlet for specific types of media for your area? This is connecting with the publishers or with the editors for specific online magazines. This is also to be that person that people think of when they're coming there. This is something where you're going to have to reach out to them. You're going to have to make those contacts. You're going to have to come with some creative ideas to do those things. And then Inman is always looking for people to publish information about their businesses that will help agents grow. You can always go to Inman, look for contributing writers, and then also down below in the comments or down in the description down below, I'm going to give you the link where you can sign up or if you have an idea to get published on Inman. All of these are great ways to create authority. You see, when you have other places, specifically news outlets or media that is quoting you, all of a sudden the AI sees you as that local expert. The next step is to use YouTube as the local search engine where you're going to publish content that's going to get you found. You see, Google and YouTube are still one of the main sources that we're seeing all the AIs utilize to be able to find the agents or the information that they want. It's just a simple, easy way. So what does that look like for you? Make sure that you're publishing on YouTube, specifically neighborhood content. You're talking about what's going on, the best neighborhoods, the most family-friendly neighborhoods, the neighborhoods that are closest to whatever. Talking about the school system, talking about the businesses, talking about economic development, whatever it is. Make sure that you're publishing local content. Now, what we've also seen is a lot of people are taking these and they're utilizing this because you have to understand, when you're thinking about content like this, what is it that AI is looking for? It's not the same way as we used to think about the titles for maybe our YouTube type of content specifically. So this is going to be more specific. I've even seen people that are actually going out there and creating their own YouTube channel in a specific community, which gives them the ability to do shorter types of content. So what is it if it's a conversational tone? What is it that typically you're going to see people type in on AI? They're going to type in, hey, help me find the 3 best places that are close to this school, neighborhoods that are close to this school. It's going to give them the ability specifically like a conversational tone. So you want to write your titles in a way that it's almost like you're answering those types of questions. When you do that, the search engine picks it up. AI picks it up as you already answering the question that somebody's already asked. So it gives you the ability to be hyper-local. It gives you the ability to answer the questions that most people are going to search for. It gives you the ability to not just be a resource for just real estate, but the source in your local market for all things anybody could have questions about. The next step is to stay active on social media and specifically on some other websites as well. So here's what I want you to understand is that recency matters. We had one of our agents, Colby Anderson, was looking at this. He had someone search for him. It quoted that he had posted about this 2 days ago about a specific neighborhood. It gave them the ability that actually AI was looking for who had posted most recently about this. So think about staying consistent with your posting on all of your social media. Another thing is that when you're doing this, make sure you're researching what it is that AI is looking for. The best way you can do that is to go in and actually start searching for specific websites. All right, so I'll give you one specific example of this. My friend of mine, Doug Edrington out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, when he was setting up to make sure that he was ranking as high as possible in this, he did a search on his own phone. And it actually told him that he was there, and it mentioned a couple of other agents. But when he actually realized that AI actually wants us to make us feel better about themselves, and sometimes they will tell us that we're that expert, when in reality they're not really showing that to other people. He actually went on his wife's ChatGPT, did the same search. He wasn't even on there. But one thing that's great about this is that it tells you what they're referencing. So it will tell you things like Agent Pronto. It'll tell you websites maybe like Fast Expert that maybe you haven't thought about. So when you do your research for who it ranks in your local area, notice what those are. What Doug did is he realized maybe he didn't want the leads on that, but what he did want is he wanted that to be a profile on there. So what he did is he actually went and set up all of these on these different places and basically set up his information that was statistically right there. He talked about specific things like #1 team in Chattanooga. And then he talked about all of the things that his team does, the areas it services in his profile on those 2 websites. And even though he didn't accept those leads, what it did is it positioned him with what they were searching for. And then within a week, Doug was ranking #1 for Chattanooga for that search. So what is it that you can do to go in there? Make sure you're doing the research to figure out what are the type of websites that it's quoting in your local area. Make sure you increase your presence on those sites and make sure that you're also staying consistent on social media, and you'll skyrocket to the top of search. Number 7 is keep your content fresh. I mentioned a little bit earlier that there is a recency bias when it comes to these search from these type of AIs. So what is it that you can do? You have to stay consistent. You have to constantly have updates. You can't rely on the quarterly or the 6-month or the yearly overview of your current market. It needs to be monthly or on a quarterly basis at least. You also need to be posting consistently on social media. We talked about that. But also, are you posting consistently on your Google business profile? Are you posting and turning one piece of content? Look, AI can help you with this. You see, all of this is actually not as hard as you think. If you've got a great post that you did on Instagram, all you have to do is take that post, drop it into ChatGPT, and ask it to convert this to a LinkedIn information or article that you can post on LinkedIn. Ask it to create this in a TikTok format. Ask it to create it in a YouTube short format. Ask it to put it as a Facebook post. You see, you can take one piece of content, utilize the AI to help it find you, and that consistency is absolutely going to lead to some opportunities. You see, if you're wanting to get ahead of the game here, start simple. Get your profile set up properly. Make sure you're optimizing everything you're doing. Stay consistent and understand and position yourself where the AI is actually searching, and you'll absolutely get better results. This is the beginning of a really big change that's happening in our business. And if you get started now and you begin to set the tone for what will happen into the future, and you have a foundation that you can build on, absolutely you're going to see more opportunity in the future. I hope this has been helpful, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. I specifically chose the video below for you because it builds on the one you just watched. I hope it's helpful, and I'll talk to you soon.